Hi, and welcome to IV Tutor. My name is Edmund, and we are looking at the factory method design pattern today. So obviously, the factory method design pattern is used whenever you want to decouple object creation from the actual objects, right? So you've got types of classes, and the client, which should use instances of those classes, must not know about how to create those instances. So you're decoupling object creation from the client, which uses those objects. So you are going to notice that in this case, we've got two types of objects we are talking about. The first is the classes for which we need to create the instances. And here we've got the classes responsible for creating the instances. So what we are saying basically is we've got a client, right, which needs an instance of type product. And here is your product. And if we focus only on what's going on here, just so that it's very clear what we are doing, if we ignore everything else and we focus on this, we're simply saying we've got a class called product, and inheriting from product is one or more classes of type concrete product. So these are basically concrete classes. And more often than not, you see that all the examples that we deal with, you will have more than one class inheriting from your base class. This could be abstract or not. It doesn't really matter. In this case, it's depicted as an abstract class, but it may not be an abstract class. It's a class and you've got subclasses. So when you have inheritance going on, then there's a chance or it's an opportunity to use the factory method design pattern. So let's say we've got this one class here, and to make it easier, let's also introduce another class here. Let's just call this one B, and this one is concrete product A. So now we've got two classes of type product, all inheriting obviously from products, right? So our client, which is sitting here, requires an instance of product, and our client can use concrete B or concrete A. Without taking note of this, what we have to do in here is whenever you need an instance of a product, you can go product equals new concrete A or product equals new concrete B inside your client. But now that means your client is coupled with these classes because your client knows about all these types of classes of products, right? Or your client knows about all these types of products. Now, when it comes to the factory method design pattern, you are decoupling your client from knowing about these guys. And all you are doing is you are saying, I'm going to give my client an instance of a product through this pointer, and the client doesn't need to know which one of these it is, right? Or how to create these instances. Your client is going to request someone to create an instance of a product. And that someone will then give your client an instance of a product, but it's given through the product pointer. So in other words, your client is never going to instantiate any of these classes. Therefore, your client has been decoupled from the responsibility or no longer has the responsibility to create these instances. So that's why they say here, the responsibility of creating objects can be transferred to the subclasses. So this design pattern defines a class which are with a function for creating an object, but the subclasses implement this function to create appropriate objects. So I'll come back to this. All right, so basically that is the bigger picture of what you are trying to achieve whenever you are using the factory method design pattern, decoupling your client from your subclasses, right? Decoupling your client from your subclasses. Now, how do you achieve that? To do this, you introduce another class that is responsible for creating instances of type products. And this is then your factory. So in other words, your factory is responsible for manufacturing instances of type product or whatever classes you have here, right? So factory method, the name method is coming from the fact that we've got a method and we could replace method with function, right? We've got a function sitting inside your factory that is responsible for creating those instances, and that is this part here that was being described, where you've got subclasses implementing this function. So a factory is simply a class that has one function, or a function, or at least one function responsible for creating instances of type products. Which means if you look at this UML class diagram, you realize that the return type of your factory method or your function is a product. And then you can have any other things that you want inside your factory. But the basis of the factory method is the idea that we've got a method or a function inside this class, which is responsible for creating instances of type product. So it's a function that returns an instance of type product. And in most cases, this is usually a pointer, if we talk in terms of Qt, right? But now, why do we have two factories? Now, the way you achieve this is you create an abstract class that defines your factory. In other words, it shows you what a factory should look like. Like this is saying a factory must have a function called factory method, which returns a product. And as you can see, these are in italics, right? Which means these are abstract or pure visual, right? In other words, there is no implementation here. Your factory here is defining an interface for what a factory should look like. Otherwise, this is the actual factory. And this is going to inherit from your abstract factory and provide an implementation for this function. So in other words, these two functions look exactly the same. Remember, if you're inheriting from an abstract class, you must provide an implementation for all the pure virtual methods or for all the abstract functions. So these would look exactly the same. But the implementation lives here. Now, when answering questions, in most cases, they may not require you to do this class. They may simply say, show us how to do the factory, because what matters is this factory method or this function, which is responsible for creating products. So there are cases where they would say, show us how you would create the factory, in which case you only do this one. You don't worry about that. So there are basically two types of questions you're going to get when we talk about the factory method design pattern in exams. The first one is going to say, here are classes, apply or draw the UML class diagram after applying the factory. So in other words, they give you the left side, then they say do the right side. Then it's exactly going to be like this. You've got association between your factory and your product with a users relationship, and you've got an association relationship between your concrete factory and your subclasses with a creates relationship. So this association, remember with association, you can give it context. You can describe what kind of usage is going on in this class, right? So that is why you see creates. So given a UML diagram like this, if they say apply factory, you're supposed to do this. Define a factory function, which is abstract, with a function to return instances of type whatever class, and then inherit from that class, repeat this function. Now this is not abstract, but it should also return an instance of a product, right? And obviously this goes there. So we're going to do a few examples to show how you can apply this factory method using a UML class diagram. But otherwise, it's very straightforward. It's exactly as you see it here. Okay. The second type of questions have to do with writing code. So instead of saying draw a diagram, they can say show us a class definition of your factory class. And in most cases, they'll be requesting for this one. But I'm going to show you how you would define the abstract factory and how you would also define the concrete factory, which is very easy. And we're going to repeat this code a lot when we start looking at some examples that you have requested that you do factory method design pattern. So basically for your abstract class, it's a normal class. We can call this one factory. Your class doesn't have to be called factory. It can be given any other name. We could call this one abstract product factory or anything. But in here, what matters is only one function, which is the one that returns a product. So we'll then define this as a pure virtual function, which returns a product instance. Usually we use pointers, and this one could be create instance. In this example here that we're looking at, it's called factory method. But when you are defining the method, you can call it create product or anything, right? So this then becomes your method, your factory method. I can call this one create product like this. And because this pure virtual equals 4 equals 0, and I'm done. This is how you would define your abstract factory. And by doing this, it's now an abstract class. Now your concrete factory, I can then define a class called maybe product factory here, which is now the concrete one, which is obviously inheriting from your factory. I could have called this one, let's call this one abstract product factory. Oh, it doesn't matter. You can call it whatever you want. But now this one is the concrete. So here you're now doing the implementation. We've got a function here that returns a product instance. We call this function create product. And there we go. Now I want to refine this implementation and mention one thing that is also very important when it comes to defining these functions. Your factory method function, right? This factory method that we're talking about here. In most cases, or if not all cases, it requires at least one argument because it needs to decide which one am I creating. Let's say if you have more than one, like in this diagram, we've got only one class, which is the concrete product. So this is always going to return this one instance. But what if you had 3 classes here, A, B, and C, all inheriting from product? It means your concrete or your factory method needs to know which one to return. That is the first thing, right? It needs to know which one to return. The second thing is if your constructors here require arguments or require values, it means your factory method must be able to provide these constructors here with the values they require or with the arguments they require so that you can instantiate it. For example, if let's say you need an int here to define the number of items for each product as part of the constructor, what that means is in your factory method, you should be able to provide that number in order to make an instance. So in other words, whatever you need to make an instance, your function must be able to provide for, right? So in this case, if we had more than one, right? If we had more than one class, there are different ways you can decide which one is being requested. But one of the basic ways is to just use a Q string that says, which one do you want? Let's say we can say, give us the name of the class that you want, right? Which means here our abstract function would also look the same. So this would be Q string, let's say name. So whether you use a Q string or there's another way to know which instance to return, it depends on the question. It's not always a Q string. But I am saying your factory method must have a way of deciding which instance is being requested, especially when you start dealing with more than one instance, right? So in other words, this diagram would look slightly different because inside our function here, we would then have a Q string that says that's how you decide which instance you want, okay? Just to make things simple. So once you have done it like this, it means you have defined your abstract factory and you have defined your concrete factory. And by doing this, you have applied the factory method design pattern. Now, the last thing you have to be able to do with factory method is to implement your factory method. Now, remember, the most critical thing to do with your factory method is to return an instance of type product. So in terms of the implementation here, it's very simple. You are not going to implement anything here because this one is abstract, right? But you're going to implement this one. So in my implementation, you're going to obviously return a product pointer. This one is called product factory, and our function is create product, which takes a Q string name. And here I'm just going to say the name represents the name of the class that you want. So the kind of logic you can have in your factory method is something like this. It could be an if statement. If name is equal to, I want A, then return new A, depending on the names of your classes. Then you can go else if, right, or another if N is equal to B, then return new B. Let's say A required an integer. which is maybe the number of products. That means you have to provide an integer here, which means it's either you can provide the default value or your factory method can have that allowance to supply that integer that is required to instantiate these guys. So the final definition of your factory method depends on the actual requirements. But if we assume that we're going to be using default constructors, it would look like this. I can then maybe just go, if it's not n of these, just return a null value. And this would be my implementation of my factory method design pattern. So that is basically how you apply the factory method design pattern. You have to understand that the most crucial thing is to provide a function which returns an instance of type product. If you are doing the abstract class as well, that's how you define it. That's how you do the concrete. Sometimes they only request just to do the factory class, which is the concrete, which is this one here. And in some cases, they also require you to do the implementation, which would be this guy here. Now, the last thing that you should be able to know about factory method is, now that I have a factory, how do I then use my factory to get a product, right? How do I use my function to get a product? And in that case, the usage of your factory, you are saying, all you're going to do is you're going to make an instance of your factory. So let's go, like in this case, concrete factory, F. And then you're going to use your factory to get an instance of a product. So you then go product P is equals to F dot. Now in this case, what is our function? It's called create product, and it requires the name of the product. So I can now say F dot create product and give it the name of the product that you want. And your function will then return that instance, right? Another way you can also use your factory, if you've got the abstract and the concrete, you can also do it like, in this case, we have abstract, we've got factory, which is abstract, and we've got product factory, which is concrete. So you can also use a polymorphic assignment and do something like factory F equals new products factory. And then you simply go product P equals F dot create product, and then give it the name of the product. That is also one way you can do it. Or, you know, in most cases, the questions I've seen so far are not very fast about how you create your factory instance. They just want to know that you can now use your factory instance to get a product. So in this case, you now give your factory method the name of the product, and then you can say if it's A, return this one. If it's B, then this one, another return. So in this case, we could use it by simply say we want A, and then it would return an instance of type A. Or yeah, depending on the context, how you decide how to request an instance. So basically, when it comes to factory method, there are 4 things you guys must be able to do. The first one is apply the factory method UMO diagram, apply factory using a UMO diagram to existing classes. Second thing, know how to define your factory design, your factory classes. How do you define them, right? Your abstract factory, your concrete factory. The third, how do you implement your factory function? And it doesn't really change. It's mostly just if statements. And finally, how do you use your factory to get an instance? So how to use your factory, how to implement your factory, how to define your factory, and then how to apply the UMO class diagram to existing classes. All right. So we are going to look at a few examples of these 4 things from a few past exam paper questions. I'll see you in the next video.